Hi, my name is Allison, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction on Meliora Testlab. Testlab is a browser-based test management tool for your project's lifecycle management. It has features for requirements management, test case design, execution planning, issue management, and reporting to help you track quality metrics and the progress of your projects. In this short video, I will introduce you to the central concepts of Testlab and how they are presented in the user interface. All assets in Testlab are divided into projects. I'm now logged into Testlab's demo project, which is automatically created for everyone who signs up. When I log into a project, a dashboard view opens up. A dashboard is a configurable space for which I can choose the things I'm interested in. Some widgets have more functionality. For example, the notice board, which I can use to post announcements and share files within my project. From the top of the view, I can find notifications, which are automatically created for me about assets which have been assigned for me to work on. Requirements describe the customer's needs. As Testlab is not tied to any specific way of working, you can describe your requirements, for example, as user stories, use cases, or something else, as long as they can be written down. For traceability, it is important to be able to link requirements to other quality assets, such as testing results and issues. This way, you can track which requirements are covered and what impact issues currently cause. Requirements in Testlab are created as a directory tree. For example, in this project, security-related requirements are created under a folder called Sec, and the customer's user stories are created in their own folder. I can view a requirement by selecting one from the tree. A requirement has some basic details, a description, comments usually added during the design, as well as attached files. I can also easily find the test cases which are linked to verify this requirement. Some details, such as links to other requirements and a change history, have their own tabs. When you have requirements, you must have a way to ensure that the end result works as required. For this, test cases are added. In short, a test case is a detailed description of steps that you can execute to verify that the implementation works as specified. In Testlab, test cases are added to a tree, and these test cases can be categorized freely. A test case has some basic details, a common description, comments added for it, and attached files. The Steps tab documents the preconditions for the execution, the actual steps, and expected end results for the test case. A change history of the test case can be found on its own tab, just as it is with requirements. Just as a note, it's possible to just manage test cases and execute them with Testlab. Requirements are not mandatory. Keep in mind, though, that if you skip using requirements, you cannot track or report the coverage of testing against the requirements. When actual testing is done, it's typically most effective to test certain parts at a time, and to be able to manage who will be doing the testing and what specifically will be tested. For this, Testlab has execution planning features. Test cases are organized as test sets, which are basically ordered lists of test cases. A pre-planned test set makes it easy to repeat a set of tests, for example, when something is tested repeatedly during a project. Test sets are easy to edit and reorder by simply dragging and dropping. Before the actual execution, test runs are added and assigned to testers. As an example, I'll choose a few test cases from this test set for execution and add a new run to my project. I enter a title for the run, assign it to myself, and save it to my project. As you can see, my project now features the test run I just added. As I said earlier, a test run is an executable set of test cases. You can find all the test runs from this project in this view. By choosing a test run, I can see a short summary for the progress of the run. how many tests a run has, how much of the run has been executed, and a summary of the testing results and issues so far. From below, I can see that a few of these tests have failed. I can drill down to the run and see what's gone wrong with these tests. I can also execute tests. I'll go ahead and choose a test run I created earlier, and as you can see, all the test cases in this run are still without a result. I choose the test cases I want to execute in this session and go for it. When I'm running tests, Testlab shows me the preconditions for the execution, the steps I should execute, and the expected end results for this test case. I can also view the description of the test case and go through the requirements this test case is covering. While I'm testing, I mark each execution step as passed, failed, blocked, or skipped. I can also add my own comments to each step if I like. I've gone ahead and marked the whole test case as passed. Testlab then proceeds with the run and presents me with the next test case. Let's assume that there's something wrong with this next test case. I can then mark a step that I'm having trouble with as failed and add a comment to this step. It's essential that we add an issue, however. Issues can be seen as tasks which have to be handled sometime later. An issue can be a defect found in testing, a new feature, an enhancement, or something else. In this case, I'll add a new defect, which has to be fixed later. I type in a title for it, assign the issue for myself to work on, enter additional details if necessary, and a description for it. Now, I'll go ahead and mark this test case as failed. And as this is the last test case in the run is now finished. The test run view now shows the results for the run I just executed, as well as the issue I just added. I mentioned issues earlier on. For issue management, Testlab features its own view, which is based on a list that I can easily filter according to the issues that I'm interested in. I can filter issues with test hierarchy, using common options to filter the issues that I'm assigned with, for example, or I can filter issues by their status. Issues can also be commented on directly in the list. Now we've briefly gone through the most common concepts used in Testlab. Projects requirements, which are verified with test cases, which are executed as test runs, and which generate issues. One main view of Testlab is still to be presented. Test coverage gives you easy access to the current status of testing by summing up the following for each requirement: how many test cases are covering them, how many issues still need resolving, how many issues are still to be closed, and testing results of the test cases. I can drill down to the values in the view to easily see, for example, the test cases covering each requirement. By default, the coverage is shown for the latest results of each test case, but I can also calculate the coverage, for example, for a tested version. By calculating the coverage for version milestone 1, which in this example project is tested as passed, I can see that Testlab reports no issues open and all tests are green. That's it for this short introduction on the central concepts of Testlab. Thank you for watching. Please visit us at www.melioratestlab.com, where you can find out more about Meliora Testlab. Sign up today and get your own Testlab up and running within 5 minutes.